Want some, get some. How about those friggin' Pirates?
Yes, I am a pirate.
You have to go with the Pirates because, of course, they have cannons and everything.
It's a pirate's life for me.
Be proud of who you are and what you are. You're Pirates.
It is a first down. Pirates.
Because when you're at East Carolina, you go for it every time. Or you don't coach at East Carolina, you don't come to East Carolina, you don't play at East Carolina with a weak heart. Write it.
I think I've ever been in a building as loud as that was. It was deafening in there.
We will get Omaha. I can promise you that.
Painted purple all night long in Eastern North Carolina.
You're watching The Sports Objective, the podcast for Pirates.
Yeah. My heart is purple and gold. I'm a pirate down to my soul. And I don't back down, not at all. Find out when the cannons explode.
All right, welcome into the Pirate Preview right here on the Sports Objective. Ladies and gentlemen, he is Kyle from LaGrange Barber. How are you?
What's going on, Dave? I guess technically I'm Kyle from Williamson. I guess I should be Kyle in LaGrange Barber, but whatever. What's going on, guys? Getting ready for the Charlotte 49ers. This is a must-win game if there ever was one.
From the western part of the state in China Grove, North Carolina, Bubba Rosenbaum. What's up, dude?
Not a whole lot. Just looking forward, like Kyle said, to taking care of business on Saturday. This is one you certainly, at least I think most Pirate fans have had circled for about what was mid-October last year that we played these guys. So
it was the weekend after my birthday. So yeah, I'm almost right at a year.
Yeah, a little less than a year.
And let's bring in former ECU football player and ECU Hall of Famer Andew Bayes. How are you, man?
Good, buddy. Thank you for having me. It's been a little while, but it's good to be back, and hope you guys have been well. Know you guys have been holding down the fort, talking Pirate football, and it's always fun to listen to you guys.
Yeah, and by the way, I know we're going to talk football, but Pirate basketball. Andrew, I saw you a few games last year too. Pirate basketball season tickets are on sale.
35 days before first tip. Good job, marketing department.
I'm not going to touch that one.
I'm excited this year. They spent some money on some NIL players, and so I'm interested to see what they have going this year.
And they have scrimmages Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I think the Friday scrimmage is 3:30 in the afternoon, but Saturday and Sunday, if you want, it's open to the public if you want to see your Pirates. So check that out. And the media day is next Thursday. So there you have it. We talked like a minute or so about.
One thing about basketball before we get into discussing the Charlotte game. And seriously, do we know why the season tickets went on sale so late?
I have no idea.
It's extremely odd.
Yeah, out of curiosity, I went back and looked and see when they went on sale last year, and it was August 31st. So
Jesus,
I don't know why it was a little over a month later.
I was thinking. I'm glad you said that, Bubba. I was thinking it was September that they went.
It's normally early September. Last year, late August. It's insane that it's this late. I mean, you're literally think about if it was football, and I know the amount of tickets is nowhere near the same that are moved, but just think about if they put football season tickets on sale at late July. I mean, people would lose their minds.
Yeah, no doubt, and we're gonna. Hopefully, we can sell some tickets between now and then, the beginning of the season. But good news is we've got football right now, and I'm still in a football state of mind. Andew Bayes, man. I know you're going to be on the call on Saturday. I'm looking forward to I decided to go to the game, and we're covering the game myself. Bubba's going to be on the sidelines. I think we're going to sneak him in for a few plays, and then I'll be in the press box because I'm older than everybody on the podcast right now.
That's
so
great.
Bubba's going to be on the sideline. Dave, you're going to be in the press box.
Yep.
Okay, good. I was hoping you'd both get to interact with the Charlotte fans and students because I'm sure they're going to be pleasant.
Well, I'm going to hang out with Biff. I don't know how long that's going to last, but I was going to hang out with Biff, but they
bring him a shirt.
I am. I will say this. When we win on Saturday, I'm going to buy him a purple ECU shirt and see if he'll wear that because he's so poor I say that like tongue in cheek. He's a millionaire, but he's so poor he can't afford a regular T-shirt. So at least that, a polo shirt, wear something, classy. I mean, you don't have to be out there in a 3-piece suit, but anyway.
Yeah, at least 1 or 2 games this year. Because I was going back watching some of their condensed games and highlights on YouTube, to get a bit of a scouting report. And I know at least the Indiana game, he had a polo. Excuse me. I think the Indiana game, he may have gone with the cutoff look, but the North Carolina game, he had a polo on.
They won't let you in.
Chapel Hill without a collared shirt.
You got to have a polo
Wear
at
a
least.
sweater.
It's
I'm surprised.
Bare minimum.
Yeah, Andrew, I'm surprised they didn't make him wear a sweater vest in Carolina, but UNC. But
that's hilarious that he put on a collared shirt. That's great.
Yeah.
No, he's a different cat. Watching press conferences with him, it's just a whole different deal. He's not a like what you would consider a football coach. So it's just,
and he doesn't seem like a bad guy. He's just
no, he's entertaining.
It's just I don't understand. I just as a fellow big guy, you really need to avoid dressing like a slob because it makes you shouldn't do it if you're a head football coach. Period. But as a fellow big dude, dressing like a total slob just makes you look 100 times worse.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I've got a daughter. This is a sidebar, but I've got a daughter that plays beach volleyball in college, and the beach volleyball coaches are kind of, you would think they're, I'm used to football world where everyone's polished up, everyone's high and tight, and they slacks and collared shirt and tucked in and that kind of stuff, and that college beach world is Biff would fit right in. It's flip flops and shorts and cutoff shirts and.
Well, that makes sense. You're talking about beach volleyball. I mean,
yeah, that's right.
So.
He's
hey, I grew up in the days when Tom Landry was wearing a fedora and a suit. I'm not even asking for that. All I'm asking for is to dress like you're representing. Think about it. You're representing Charlotte. Okay.
Well, I don't really honestly care how they're represented. It would just embarrass me as if I was a Charlotte fan. But the best looking coach is not going to win the game. The whatever team's coached best and highly motivated is going to win the game. And Charlotte, Andrew, I'll go to you with this to start with. You look at Charlotte and you hate to sound like an NC State fan and say this is their Super Bowl. And Biff downplayed it, and so did their players. But their AD said it's going to be the biggest home game in Charlotte football history. Biff did say he expects the fans to be rocking. He expects it to be a wild atmosphere. When you're walking into that kind of a hornet's nest, when somebody is making you their Super Bowl, again, I hate to sound like an NC State fan. As a player, how do you handle that and make sure you match their intensity? I would assume them beating us last year shouldn't be very hard.
Yeah, I mean, Coach Logan. I played for Coach Logan in the late '90s, and his philosophy in those types of games was more or less just kind of hold on. Early part of the game, when we were playing some bigger teams and some bigger atmospheres and some tough environments. It's kind of like just weather the storm early on and just kind of hold on, because it will calm down. The excitement of that early part of the game will be the most intense part. And, there'll be some haymakers thrown at that point, and you just kind of need to, settle into the fight, so to speak, and just kind of weather the storm. And, we were always, it's probably been spoken about, to delirium the last couple of weeks, but truly, those teams were built to last. And, we were always at our best in the fourth quarter. So, we always knew that, that early onslaught would come. And we were always geared for kind of like the marathon of that game, that we were going to weather it until late in the game. So it's the same kind of thing here. Charlotte's going to do a lot of things to throw some haymakers early on. The crowd's going to be in it. The students are going to be in it. It's going to be a loud environment. It's going to be tough. Signals are going to be difficult early in the game, for ECU offense. And so there might be some struggles with that. There might be a false start, those types of things when you get a loud crowd, but you just gotta, just weather it for a little bit, and things will settle down.
I think it's going to be more like a bowl game because there's going to be a lot of Pirate fans there, Andrew, don't you think?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's a ton of. I remember we played in Charlotte multiple times, and just incredible ECU support in that Charlotte area. It just depends. I don't know how many tickets were made available to ECU fans.
Bubba, you know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, not many, as you would guess, with a
15,000
seat stadium.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like Kyle said, around 1,500. Of course, about 500 to 600 of those go to the coaching staff for their families and players and their families, and the rest of the admin and so forth. So you really only had probably 800 to 1,000 tickets, probably closer to 1,000 that went on sale to Pirate Club members.
Yeah, so it might be similar to what we saw in Liberty. Liberty was a bigger stadium, obviously, but a sellout crowd. But we certainly saw plenty of Pirates sprinkled throughout the stadium.
I think it'll be more similar to you. There will not be 1,000 Pirates there. Pirate fans have been. I've heard of fans buying mini plans early on to make sure they got a ticket from Charlotte. I've heard of Pirate fans going on StubHub. And by the way, they call this game a sellout. Well, as of 2 days ago, Charlotte had quietly made more tickets available, starting at $25. We'll see.
Right.
But
right.
I'd be willing to put a good $100 on it that there will be at least 3,000 to 4,000 Pirate fans there in a 15,000 seat stadium. I'd put a solid $100 bet on that. Bubba, would you agree with that?
I agree. I think it'll be more like Old Dominion. Some Charlotte fans on social media were laughing because we actually returned 100 tickets, which I was surprised with.
It was like 10 tickets.
But at the same time, went, like you said, the mini plans, economy plans, season tickets, and not to mention East Carolina friends that may be going with Charlotte fans. And, I definitely think you'll, at minimum, 2.5 to 3, maybe even, like you're saying, 3.5, 4. But you think about it, 15,000 seats, and then according to multiple Charlotte people on social media, if they're accurate, students get about 5,000. So that only leaves obviously 10,000 tickets or a little more because they are selling standing room only. But they made the decision. I'm sure it's not the cheapest thing this day and age to bring in those temporary PGA style bleachers like they did back 5 or 6 years ago when App State played there, and they had 19,000 and maybe 200, something like that. But that's why I was a little surprised when Mike Hill, their AD, said what he said. But at the same time, if they're not bringing in those seats, that obviously just drives up the demand for the tickets they do have, and the cost of those tickets. So I think that's maybe where he was going with that. And I think their decision to not do that, one, it talks about how they don't really have the demand for the other 5 home games. So maybe James Madison being the potential exception there, but then also,
they wanted to limit the amount of Pirate fans there.
You want to make that investment for just one game, and they didn't want, instead of 3,000 or 4,000 Pirates, maybe there's 6,000, 7,000 Pirates there.
Exactly, and I think I think it'll be a good atmosphere, and then we'll get off this, but on over on Pirate Radio, give them a free plug. They had a social media post asking how many people were attending the game that were ECU fans, and about 100 people commented, and that's just a small sample size. If you got 100 people commenting on the Pirate Radio page saying they're going, that's a good barometer that it's going to be several thousand. But let's actually talk about the game, guys. Bubba, Matt, Dave, we heard earlier this week Biff say in the press conference that their original starting quarterback, Florida transfer, what's his name, Bubba?
Yeah, Max Brown, and there's certainly been musical quarterbacks. Go ahead and finish your thought, and I'll elaborate a little bit more on their quarterback situation.
Yeah, Max Brown, who was the original starting quarterback to start the season, Florida transfer, talented kid, can do it with his arm and his legs. He had thumb surgery about 2 weeks ago, and they had Biff said that he may be available. He was going to be at practice this week. Their beat writer told Igo today that he would be shocked if he played. So I think it may have been more of a just to give us something else to think about. If he is ready to go, if that thumb is healed that fast, that could be a problem because he is by far their best quarterback. After that, you got musical quarterbacks, like you said, Bubba. Go ahead and talk about the rest of their quarterbacks. Okay.
Let's
Andrew, do you want to take that?
Yeah.
No,
I can take it.
Go ahead. I just got switched. I was looking at something.
Yeah, do it. Max Brown, you had that right. The Florida transfer, highly productive, dual threat quarterback. He adds a dimension to the offense that they probably need desperately. Deshaun Purdy, the freshman, who stepped in for Trexler Ivy, in the Rice game. Trexler Ivy ended up getting benched after going 8 for 21, throwing a pick, and only 54 yards. Deshaun Purdy came in. He actually throws a really good deep ball. That he connected, I believe, twice in that game. He went 10 for 15 for 183 and 2 touchdowns. He's a good-looking quarterback, but he's freshman. He's inexperienced. And in this type of game, I'm sure Charlotte doesn't want to have to rely on him, especially if Max Brown is available. But, I'm pretty sure, with a banged up thumb, it's going to be pretty hard for him to take the field. And it would, by default, it would go to Deshaun Purdy. He's 6'4", 220. It's good.
Yeah, and what I saw out of him, you're right. He throws the deep ball well, seems inconsistent on intermediate routes. He doesn't seem to like pressure at all, being a young kid. So if you can get pressure on him without giving up the deep throw, you might force him into making some turnovers.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be the focus of Blake Harrell's defense this week is just tons of pressure. Whoever the quarterback is, it's going to be a lot of pressure, especially if it's Purdy. There's going to be a ton of pressure coming his way, forcing him into, some tough decisions. They like to run, a 2 tight end set, so they'll be maxed out in protection, and they'll trust maybe a one-on-one on. They've got a good receiving, good pass catcher, Sean Brown, who's probably their possession guy. He's kind of the intermediate guy, where maybe they can get him one-on-one in space and be able to get the ball out quick. But I anticipate Blake dialing up a lot of pressure early in this one.
Yeah, a lot of 12 personnel. One back, 2 tight ends, and they're going to huddle. There's certainly no hurry. Compared to the Pirates, definitely polar opposites in terms of styles offensively. And you think back to a year ago. The over-under going into this matchup between the Pirates and 49ers in Greenville was 38.5. And, obviously 17 points were scored in that game. This week, I believe the last I saw was 47.5. So once again, they're certainly expecting to be a defensive game. And, and based on what these teams have done to date, it's certainly understandable to see why.
Do you think with them running, they don't hurry, like you said, use 2 tight ends a lot. Do you guys think that they will try kind of the app game plan of keep away, try to control the clock, try to not let us have the ball, and then will we respond in kind? They have given up a lot of yards on the ground. You really wish you had Bond for this game. Their run defense has struggled big time. You can't put it all on. If we're going to run the ball a lot, you can't put it all on Harris. Gunn is still banged up from the car wreck. So we really need Montgomery, who is good with the ball in his hands. The problem is Montgomery doesn't know the rest of the offense. He's not good at blocking, etc. So when you see Montgomery in the game, you pretty much know it's going to be a run to him. I would get the ball in Montgomery's hand early before they realize every time he's in the game it's going to be a run to him because, like I said, he struggles with pass blocking. But we really need to be able to run the ball in this game. To one, control some clock ourselves. Two, they are susceptible to the run, but you cannot put it all on Rajay. And we need to get an outside run game going. Whether that be using Winston Wright or God, what's the other receiver that we can use in sweep plays and such?
Smith.
No.
Well, I mean, you've seen, in
Blake.
addition to Winston Wright, I mean, you've seen Brock Spalding on a jet sweep or a few.
Yeah.
I mean, we faked it to him on the quarterback power and down at the goal line.
That's not who I'm thinking of, though.
I know, and Jari Patterson.
Thank you. Yes, Patterson. Like to see him get involved in the running game. We got to have an outside run element.
Yeah, I mean, I think John David Baker would probably tell you that he would like to get the explosive runs going. That's one thing that going back to last week, they're having a hard time finding explosive run plays. They did not mix in. I think once that offense humming along, you got to get multiple runners in there, and you've got to change the pace. And I think they went to Rajay early and often and stayed with him. And as that game wore on, Rajay was building up the carries to a point where he had 25 rushes late in that game for only 65 yards, and they pretty much gassed him. So they do need to get Montgomery involved early. They need to get Marlon going. He needs to draw up some plays that give the opportunity, like you said, maybe some jet sweeps or something. Get the ball in Winston Wright's hands, Jari Patterson, whatever you got to do to add a few wrinkles to open some things up, and get the running game going. It was definitely difficult to watch at some point last week. They were trying. And sometimes you gotta eat the ball sometimes to set up some plays, and I think that's some of what we saw. But
yeah,
they definitely want to get the run game going. There's no doubt.
Well, UTSA's run defense is really good. The middle of their D line is about as good a run stoppers as we're going to see all year, as Houston said in the press conference Monday. Charlotte nowhere near the run defense, at least to this point in the season, as UTSA. But God, again, you wish you had Bond for this game. It really, I think if you had Bond for this game, it would probably be curtains.
Yeah, he's a difference maker. I mean, that front four for Charlotte, they're talented. I mean, this coaching staff is giving them their respect. There's quite a few transfers. You've got both on that defensive line as well as in the linebacking core. You've got quite a bit of experience there. You've got a fifth-year senior at D tackle Des Morgan, a sixth-year senior, a defensive end, Mike Kelly Lawson. And then you got a couple of transfers on the other side, Stone Handy from Indiana and Auburn. And then they've got D tackle that this is his fifth school, Dre Butler. So, there's a lot of moving pieces there in transfers across the board, but, they clearly have talent. So I know this coaching staff, the ECU staff respects that defensive front. They're going to give them, they're going to give the Pirates some fits. And I think that's why the focus of getting it going and trying to do some offset rushing, some change of direction. What they got to do, whatever wrinkles he's got to draw up to get that run game going. Charlotte's not going to make it easy on them.
196 on the ground, I believe, is what Charlotte's given up to FBS opponents.
Yeah.
You look against their 4 FBS opponents. James Madison, 41 for 194. So obviously not too much shy of 5 yards to carry there. North Carolina, 45 attempts for 269 yards and 3 touchdowns. Indiana, 41 for 222 and 6 touchdowns. And then Rice, 31 for 209 and had a long rush of 51 yards. So
I can remember, going down to Rice last year, that offensive line was massive.
Yeah.
Rice had a big offensive line, and I think a lot of those parts and pieces are back.
Yeah, Rice has struggled mightily this year, though, despite having. I don't understand what's wrong with Rice. You're right. They do have their line back, and then they bring in damn, what's his name? C.J. Warner from Temple, and for some reason they're struggling. I can't put my finger on why.
Yeah, I watched some of that game. They are interesting to watch. They had a couple explosive plays, one to a big tight end. That was pretty sweet play that they had on Charlotte. But yeah, both teams, Charlotte and Rice, are definitely interesting studies because they have some odd parts and pieces and just haven't been able to put it together.
Yeah, let's hope they don't figure it out this week.
Yeah, that's right.
And Johnny Robertson says, I mean, going back to the quarterback and situation at Charlotte in the passing game, he says on passes of 20-plus yards, the 49ers are just 7 out of 31 with no touchdowns and
wow,
3 INTs. I think that may be an old stat.
Yes, that would be
It's
that had to
certainly
be
an old
prior to this
stat
past
because I know
weekend.
last week they had
Omega Blake
2 touchdowns to Omega Blake that were over 20 yards, maybe 30 something, and then or right at 30 yards, and then another one that was probably 50 or 60.
Yes. And they should have lost that game to Rice. Andrew, if you watched the fourth quarter, that was a BS pass interference call on fourth down in the red zone. That game should have been over right then, and
oh yeah.
Rice should have walked off the field.
I remember you talking about that, Kyle, when we were watching football, and you were making that point.
Did you see that play, Andrew?
I didn't see that play. I saw the missed field goal.
Well, prior to that, on Charlotte's touchdown, they had it. I forget where they were, but they're in the red zone, and they get a PI in the end zone on fourth down. That was a bad PI call, and they get it at the 2, first and goal at the 2, and end up scoring. And that's how Rice had to end up trying to kick a winning field goal. But they should have never been in that situation. It was a bad PI call.
Yeah, that's a tough break at home for them.
Yep.
No doubt. We Andrew, as far as I know, we had a question about our new kicker Perez. That's your definitely your wheelhouse. Can you talk about that? Is Conrad, is he hurt? Is Andrew Conrad hurt, or do you know what's going on there? Maybe you have more of an insight than we do.
Yeah, I believe he's got something. He's got something going. But Noah Perez, I mean, he stepped in last week, and I mean, he looked great. He went 3 for 3, right? He had a long 42. I don't think. I think when Andrew is ready to rock, I don't know whether that would be this week or not, but I think Noah might stick in there. Maybe they do a combo deal where he has the opportunity to keep the short stuff and Andrew can take the long stuff. But he looked good to me. He looked smooth. He looked not nervous at all. Good tempo on his kicks that I saw, and so it's pretty good. Where you've got another kicker in depth that is able to come in and do that. Not a lot of teams have that. That's a pretty good asset.
Yeah, I think what you said is correct. If Noah keeps kicking like he did this past week against Charlotte, to me, with Conrad's inconsistency, but does have the bigger leg, you let Noah kick the short stuff, and then anything, I think 42 might be about his limit. So anything over 42, let Conrad kick. Andrew, weren't you the long field goal specialist back in '97, or am I making that up?
That's some pretty good memory. Yeah, that we Logan would do that from time to time. I was also mixed in. He would mix me in for a bunch of stuff, but I would be kind of like the fake field goal, fake punt guy, fake kickoff guy. So he would, to keep everyone honest on film, I would mix in on some field goals, and then that would be to set up a fake down later in the game or for the next game, is kind of what Coach Logan did. I was talking to somebody, it might have even been Coach Logan recently, as far as I don't see fakes in general as much as we did in our time. I mean, we had fakes. We would practice fakes every day, and we would have fake field goals and fake punts and fake kickoffs that were in every single game plan, in every single game. And Coach Logan, his belief always was to try to steal a possession, and he would have those fakes in line. So defense wasn't getting the turnovers, he would dial up some sort of fake, whether it be a special teams fake or some other, reverse option, something. And I just don't see it. I don't know if you guys might have a different perspective, but I don't see it much in college football anymore.
No, there's not as many fakes and field goals, and I'm going to guess probably fake field goals and fake punts, and I'm going to guess it's probably something to do with analytics. Analytics has become such a part of the game. There's probably something that says you stand a higher chance of making it on fourth down, going for it, than you do faking a punt or faking a field goal. My guess would be analytics has probably got a lot to do with that.
Well, you ask Coach Logan, and he would tell you it has something to do with having some stones.
Hey,
well,
Andrew,
you don't play at East Carolina. You don't coach at East Carolina. You don't come to East Carolina with a weak heart.
That's right.
Write it.
You talking about stones like faking it on 4th and 4 on your own 16-yard line, first possession of the season at Virginia Tech?
That's right.
Oh yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
Nobody would ever go for that. Oh, or would they?
It didn't work.
Are you talking about one I
pass for a yard shy of the first down?
Yeah, I completed that pass to JJ McQueen, and he was a yard short. We also ran that same play at Tulane in either 97 or 98, and I think we picked up the first down on that one. And then we ran surprise onside kickoffs in the bowl game during the season. We had fake field goals galore. I remember completing one. I don't know whether it was maybe Wake Forest or something like that my sophomore year to Buck Collins. And he was mad at me. It was like a 30-yard completion. I think it was a sophomore or something like that.
97 Wake Forest game?
I think. And I completed that pass, and I was so excited. That was my first collegiate completion. And I was so excited to complete it, and I ran over to the sideline, and he completely wore me out. I was looking for a high five, and he just started wearing me out because I was too late on the pass. It would have been a touchdown if I would have stuck it on him sooner.
So he didn't realize you were the punter, not the quarterback.
Yeah. It was a good lesson for me, though.
Andrew, do you happen to have a copy of that 97 Wake Forest game?
I knew something that would be mentioned.
I'll try to find. I do have video. I just don't know whether I have that game.
I might have asked you this before. I have been looking. That game was televised by Fox Sports South, regionally only. It was not a Fox Sports Net game. Fox Sports South only. I have been looking for a copy of that game. Most of my adult life.
Yeah.
He doesn't sleep. The whistle's quiet in the stands.
He does not even sleep because he wants that 97.
No, I'm serious. So I cannot find anybody that has a copy of it.
May I ask why you're so intent on that one?
I was not at that game. And I did not have Fox Sports South, so I was only able to listen to it.
Okay.
And so I've always wanted to. The only Bubba might have it on beta. I'll take it. I'll get a beta player. I was only able to listen to it. So the only highlights of that game I've ever seen were on the Steve Logan Show and on the local news that night, and on the Logan Show the next day. I wasn't at the game. I did not have Fox Sports South. Fox Sports South. I was living in Kinston at the time with my mom as a teenager. The regional sports network at the time was the old HTS.
Right.
Fox Sports South would come in soon thereafter. And so I had no access to it. I listened to it. And it was the first win I experienced. I became an East Carolina fan in '94. So it was the first win I experienced over an ACC team. No, that's not true. 96 against NC
96.
State. But the first one at Dowdy Ficklin, and I wasn't able to attend, or even watch it. So I've always wanted to see the damn game. And
I'm looking through my list of digital files that I have. I do have some tapes too, but I'm not seeing it on this list. But I'll keep looking for you.
Maybe some of your teammates. Maybe you can put out a bulletin for me there. Yeah, I'll be happy to pay for anybody to make me a copy of it.
Be on the lookout for the 97 Wake Forest East Carolina game.
Yeah, that was a big deal.
I'm sure somebody put it on YouTube for you.
That'd be great.
That was the first ACC team to come to Greenville since the stadium opened back in '63.
They were the first. Yeah, and Wake Forest was the first team we ever played in Ficklin.
Yep. Because I remember talking about Brian Piccolo and the Deeks lost to the Pirates that day.
Yeah, and Wake was the first team to visit again in '97 since then. So, yeah, it was a big deal at the time. Pirates come from behind and beat the Deeks, and it was a good day for the Pirates. And unfortunately, I think the following week South Carolina destroyed us in Greenville.
It was a 21-0 deficit, and then it was like 25-24.
Yeah,
I think we won by 2. And maybe it was 1, but in my memory, do you remember the score, Andrew?
I don't. I don't.
Okay. Google knows.
Yeah.
Google is your friend. Google is always right. There would never ever be any misinformation on the internet ever. Andrew, when it comes to this game, do the Pirates cover? I mean, I'm hearing 9. What is it, 9.5?
It's down. The last
9?
I looked, it was down. No, it came back
8.
down. It was around 8 the last I looked.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I mean, I feel, I feel about as good of a game for the Pirates as I do with this one. They not only need this win, but they need to show something. This far into the season, I know the offense sputtered in the middle part of the game against UTSA, and they just have to find what it is that they want to do consistently, and I just haven't seen enough of it. And I feel like this game against Charlotte is the right place, right time for, the offense to be able to spread out their wings, be able to, try some new wrinkles and get some stuff going. The offensive line probably didn't play the best game against UTSA. I don't think they've played their best game yet. So we still have that to look forward to. And, I'm optimistic maybe they have their best game here against Charlotte this weekend.
Andrew, what do you make of Igo's report over on Hoist the Colors out at practice this week? He spoke with somebody close to Hauser, said Hauser has decided after discussing with the coaching staff to wait to have wrist surgery until after the season, and that he was being coached up a lot more with the 2s. He did not say they were giving him reps with the 1s, but there seemed to be a lot more tension on Hauser this week.
Mm-hmm.
Do you make anything of that?
Well, I mean, certainly. I mean, Hauser was, what I deem to be like a 1A coming out of summer camp. I mean, they both had all the practices and scrimmages I went to. They both looked great, comparatively speaking to what we had before. And so I feel like I know Jake, this coaching staff really love his his upbeat moxie, his positivity, his ability to bounce back off of bad plays, his athleticism in the pocket. Those are all attributes that were into the decision making of going with Hauser. But Hauser's a great pocket passer and has a huge arm. So, you can't run with 2 quarterbacks. You just
Skip
can't.
Holtz begs to differ.
What's that?
Skip Holtz begs to differ.
No, I mean we've seen many coaches that have run. I mean, heck, Coach Logan ran 2 quarterbacks from time to time, but you do it to keep the defense honest, and especially if you've got talent there, I mean, heck, we're talking about 3 quarterbacks right now with Charlotte, and our defense is having to prepare for. But it's, I think at some point this year, Coach would want to see what he's got in Hauser. So, but Coach has also showed his loyalty. I mean, I know when Holton was finishing up, we all thought that maybe Mason would get some playing time to see what he had, as Holton was finishing up, and we never really saw that. We never saw Mason really get that opportunity, or for the coaching staff to really see what they had in him. So, Houston has shown that he's loyal to his quarterbacks, maybe to a fault at times. But maybe he's also learned from that experience with Mason Garcia, where, you might want to see what you have in a real game scenario.
Well, what I see out of Garcia, Jake Garcia, is he's so damn streaky.
Yeah.
He would look great in the third quarter, and then after we gave up that long run for the touchdown, he came out and threw a pick the very next play, and he just seemed to lose his mind. They talk about his ability to bounce back. He seemed to let that getting, the score being cut from 14-7 really bother him. It did not play well in the fourth quarter. I don't think he completed a pass in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, when I say ability to bounce back, it's more the, as far as being a leader on the sideline. You know what I mean?
Right.
Not a guy that's going to get in his head and body language be poor, and where a team can feed off of that. I think what they saw in him is the ability to make mistakes and be able to keep that positive energy and not be a drain on the team. And that certainly he's had his ups and downs, but sometimes with a first year coach, offensive coordinator, and a first year quarterback, you're gonna have that, and especially as the bullets start flying. I know we as fans want to see a perfect product every week, or something close to it, but clearly they're both working through what they need to be working through, and they're trying to find that rhythm. And that's why I think this game this week presents a really good opportunity for some of that to start clicking.
And Andrew, by the way, that it seems like that he's got to learn that, okay, yes, you're talented, that's fine, but you can't force things that are like it's like he's trying too hard. There's sometimes I think he's getting better with not forcing things on regular plays where you just, when you don't have anything, throw the ball away. But we have the talent around him that he doesn't have to try to do too much. That's my feeling through the almost first half of the season.
Yeah, and I think so far through this season, you've seen the pendulum swing both from Garcia, as far as forcing some throws early on, trying to make plays, being a competitor, and create, ultimately creating turnovers for the other team in doing so. And then you've also seen some play calling changes from John David Baker, as it pertains to protecting Garcia a little bit. And so when you're running an up-tempo offense, you don't want to take away the threat of that style of offense, because that's the competitive edge of that offense. So, we've seen, at least I've seen some swings of the pendulum both for Garcia and for, the new first-year offensive coordinator, where they're trying to find the rhythm in that dance where you want to stay aggressive, with your quarterback, and you also want to have the freedom to call whatever aggressive play that you want to, knowing that, he's not going to force the ball into it. So, you see those protective plays that he's calling from time to time, maybe to protect him a little bit. And so, we'll see. I mean, you see little positive things in this offense that really excite you. And you see them in blips. I want to see a whole game of it, and I think most Pirate fans do too.
Pass pro has definitely been an issue at times, and that's why I was glad you kind of alluded to this with one of your comments there a moment ago, as far as trying some different things. With that pass protection, App State, Liberty, they had utilized 7-man, max protect schemes against us effectively, and let a veteran quarterback like Joey Aguilar or Caden Salter go to work. Obviously Jake Garcia doesn't have that type of experience, but he's proven enough, when given time, that he can certainly do a lot of good things. And we're very talented at receiver, and we know a lot more now than we did going in, as far as how our receivers are going to stack up against other teams. And we believe in being able to max protect and their ability to get open, without having to, release 4 receivers or more into a route.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, Casey Kelly, we've got a really good tight end group between Casey Kelly, Savage, and Riles, and those guys were factored in early in the season, and lately, haven't been as targeted as much. But there's a lot of good skill position players on the offensive side of the ball. Wide receiver is like six deep, 6, 7 deep in quality wide receivers. The tight end group is probably 3 deep. So, there's a lot of places they could be putting the ball once they find that solid rhythm. And look, you win a football game, you win a football game. You don't care how you skin it up. But if we're being hypercritical on what we'd like to see this week, I'd really love to see this offense get into a nice rhythm throughout the game.
Good,
yeah, I want to ask you guys really quick. As far as the offensive line, that play, as far as that, do you guys see? I know Coach Logan was talking today on his show about with you guys, Andrew, playing the big boys, a lot of the schools that we've beaten over the years, and we were outmatched on the offensive line, versus defensive line. He told the guys, "Hey, I know these guys are going to like run over you, but like slow them down a little bit so we can get the pass off." How do you feel about the offensive line? I'm gonna throw that around to all the fellas.
I think the offensive line against pass protect is all right, or pass pro is all right. I think they hold up relatively well. Not great, but they're not bad. I think run blocking we need to get better at, but I think also we're being hindered by a little bit of running back depth there. But I think in pass protect they're okay. They're not great, but they're okay.
Yeah, I mean, I ditto that. I mean that as far as we talked about Rajay earlier, to ask him to pass protect along with those 25 rushes that he had against UTSA, you wear him down, physically. It's tough to ask him to burst a run late in the game when you need it, and so you got to find ways to mix in. If it's Marlon, Marlon's got a great big frame, pass pro, and be able to mix him in to the rushing game to help, Jake get the ball out. And obviously, the tight ends also. Casey Kelly's a big body and a veteran tight end that he's been solid in the pass pro game as well. So I know they've when they've had to, they've left him in schematically to help with that. But yeah, no, we're on the same page there.
One thing that I was thinking about with this game against Charlotte and our offense, and what I mentioned earlier about Igo's comments about Hauser at practice. I look back at Houston's press conference, and I don't really know how much you could take into any of these press conferences on Monday that when you're speaking to the media, but I did find it interesting that Houston noted that he had 2 long meetings with Baker. I don't know if you guys picked up on that at the press conference about things that they have to clean up. And I'm sure they obviously meet with Baker every week, but I thought it was interesting that he mentioned that publicly in the press conference. You guys make anything of that?
I don't know. Coaches have coach speak, and everything they do is calculated in a sense. And so I mean, it's probably not, it's probably something that maybe he wanted to put out there to as a coach speak to get some motivation going to maybe add some wrinkles. But I just know from my playing days, these coaches meet all the time,
Right.
and especially if they'll meet after practice if there's something on practice film that doesn't look well, or look good or whatever it might be. Well, they'll meet and try to work through that on the fly. So I wouldn't look much into the meetings as much as maybe a comment to the media.
Exactly. Well, that's what I thought was interesting that he mentioned it.
Yeah.
Not somebody. Obviously, he meets with Baker on a regular basis. I just thought it was interesting that he mentioned it. One thing I want to mention about this game, and Bubba will echo these sentiments, I'm sure. I think this is a swing game for the Pirates. I think you win this game, You're 4-2. You beat Charlotte. All the fans. This is a game we want because we're embarrassed. They beat us in our house last year. Houston is winless against FBS opponents from the state of North Carolina. If you lose it, you lost to Charlotte. The fans are distraught. We're 3-3 going into Army. If you win this game, you got an off week. You're 4-2. Army will likely be 6-0. Could potentially be in the top 25 when we play them. You set up a huge matchup with Army in 2 weeks with, for potentially at the time first place in the conference, because we'll be undefeated in the league, and if Army is 6-0, they'd be undefeated in the league at that point. If you lose it, you're 3-3. You're fighting for a bowl game. The fan base has turned against you because we lost to Charlotte 2 years in a row. To me, this is a huge swing game for the year, and it's a huge swing game for Mike Houston's coaching career. I think you win it, you probably, unless you just screw up big time, you probably stand a good chance to at least get to 7 wins, which I think everybody will be marginally happy with. Everything goes on as normal. You lose it, you're scrambling to make a bowl game at 3-3. I think this is a huge swing game for this season.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I don't, like I said earlier, I don't see a scenario that the Pirates. I mean, all things considered, everyone stays healthy. The Pirates head back to Greenville victorious, and they have 2 weeks to prepare for Army, which is just a great scenario. You rarely get 2 weeks to have to transition to be able to prepare for that offense. And so scheduling really worked out this season. Obviously we can't look past the 49ers here. But yeah, I mean, you come out with a win, and you're really set up really, really well for that Army week, or Army 2 weeks. That's a great scenario. And I think I don't want to think about any other scenario.
Not me neither, but it's
No.
reality.
Yeah, that's right.
No, what about that very factor of when you look at when you're talking about Charlotte, you have this game, and with this game is a big deal. And by the way, guys, I had this question for you. Sorry, Bubba. I wanted to ask y'all if my memory's right. Has Mike Houston beat a team, FBS team in North Carolina?
I just said that a minute ago, Dave, that he's winless against FBS teams in the state of North Carolina.
I did not hear that. Sorry.
Yeah, he has not. He is 0-2 against NC State, 0-3 against Appalachian State, and 0-1 against Charlotte.
Yeah, so that's a big deal. We need to, make people know. And Andrew, I want to add this quickly, and then I'll pitch it back to you, Bubba. When we did Media Day, Andrew, there was a lot of guys that they mentioned the Charlotte game. They're like, we're not overlooking the games with Norfolk State, but they made a point to say they had the Charlotte game circled. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I mean that was not a good thing last season. Charlotte coming in here, I know they added some wrinkles offensively, doing some option stuff, and surprised the Pirates, schematically that they weren't quite prepared for, and that was a bad look for the program. So, rightly so, you circle this one because it's one that you want to, you want to definitely knock out. So I can understand that.
And the defense, I mean, the score was what, guys? 10-7. I mean, it's ridiculous. The defense was playing well, and you can only put up 7 points against Charlotte. I mean, that's
the only reason we put up those 7 points because they muffed a punt inside the 10-yard line that gave us that short of the field.
Yeah, I go back to last year, and that offense, watching it week in and week out, they were struggling.
What was so irritating in that game is you're right, the offense was struggling so bad, and we're driving the ball, and we have it in a reasonable field goal range, and then all of a sudden, instead of trying to get it even closer, we decide we're going to play action and try to throw it to the end zone, and Flynn gets sacked.
Yeah.
And if you just hand it off there and get it closer to field goal, we're probably going into overtime. And I sit right behind the opposing team's bench. Charlotte players were starting to piss down their legs. If we'd have went into overtime, we'd have won that game. But anyway, it is what it is. Not worried about that game. Now worried about this year's game. This is a game that Bubba, and I'll pitch it to you after this, but we don't. the players don't need to put too much pressure on themselves. Just go. You're the better football team. Just go execute.
And I think we're the more disciplined team. Last year, and you certainly can't always you can go by this because if you're committing absolutely no penalties, and that's probably a problem as well, just because
lack of effort.
Yeah, and just lack of aggressiveness and so on. But last year in that game, Charlotte had some boneheaded penalties. I mean, they had nearly 100 yards in penalties. I looked it up earlier today, 9 penalties for 90 yards. This year, I think they're averaging 6 or 7 penalties a game for about 60 yards per game. So that's something else to keep an eye on. Trying to find out what Charlotte is offensively in the red zone. The Pirates, after last week, we still just scored 1 touchdown and 3 trips in the red zone, that being on Jake Garcia's run. And then, of course, we had the field goals by Manuel Perez. So now you're 19 red zone trips, just 7 touchdowns. That's something that needs to change.
Yeah, no doubt. Got to be better in the red zone. I do like the field goal consistency in the red zone from Noah. Hopefully that continues. But you definitely need to come across away with more touchdowns. We scored 3 touchdowns on offense last week, but you're right, only 1 was in the red zone. The other 2 were big plays, which was good to see. But yeah, you got to get more efficient in the red zone. We saw it some last week with the 1 touchdown, made 3 field goals. So we need to see more of that this week and be even more efficient. Anybody got any more points they want to make before we give our score predictions?
I do. Going back to Deshaun Purdy, the true freshman quarterback that played the second half last week against Rice. He throws a really nice deep ball. I was impressed with that. But then, worth noting, in that game he was sacked just once. In their escape comeback win against Gardner Webb, where they trailed by 17 on 2 occasions, and really poured it on the final 20 minutes of that game to rally from that 20-3 deficit. Deshaun Purdy was, benched in that one. He had been sacked 6 times, and Trexler Ivy came in and led that comeback. But Purdy, if he's the one they go with, with the way he throws the deep ball and so inexperienced, he's one that obviously we don't want to let anybody behind us, no matter who the quarterback is, but even more so with what we've seen from him, make him drive the field, and obviously he's much more prone to make a mistake than Trexler Ivy would be.
And I would caution this Blake, Harrell, and this defensive coaching staff, and they should know this already. Be ready, have that game plan, but be ready to switch on a dime, because if they will pull him out and put Ivy in, and he is consistent on the underneath stuff. He doesn't throw the deep ball very well, so then you're gonna have to completely change what you do. So hopefully the coaching staff is ready for both.
All right, let's go ahead, Bubba. I'm sorry.
I was just getting some of these other comments that we had starred throughout the show.
Okay.
But Richard Allsbrook chiming in regarding Biff Poggi, saying that he reminds him of Rex Ryan. I can definitely see that.
I think Rex Ryan is more talented.
Richard's been traveling all over Western North Carolina, delivering supplies from Asheville and Newland.
We salute you.
Yeah, so thanks for that, Richard. Really appreciate you doing that.
Much respect, absolutely. We couldn't do it without you.
And Richard said thank you to Craig Doucette, and he said our community is getting it done with donations. It's no doubt the worst catastrophe I've seen in my lifetime.
Hey, Craig, by the way, and I know that Kyle's a staff meteorologist. This is the biggest storm that we've had, the biggest hurricane since Katrina. Think about Katrina. This is the biggest storm we've had since then. So, and you think
the
about
topography, the topography, it makes it so much different than any other hurricane that has ever hit anywhere. I mean, mountains are not supposed to get hurricanes. I mean, I saw this coming a little bit, not to get off on a tangent with the weather. I don't know how I'm sitting here without any kind of meteorological degree, and I saw this potentially coming, not to this extent, but I told my wife several times that, with the topography up there and the way things are going to flow down, you get 15, 20 inches of rain falling on mountains. It's going to all fall down into the lower
Right.
elevations. And then your rivers and streams up there have fast moving water that are held back by dams, whitewater rafting up there, et cetera. It's fast moving, held back by dams. They're narrow, also very narrow mouths to those rivers and creeks. And when you get 20 inches of rain dumped on that, those dams are going to bust, and the power of that rushing water is going to be unstoppable. Now, I did not see it to this extent. I don't think anybody could have, but I saw this coming to
No.
a degree. And I don't know how. I'm not talking about anybody that lives there. I'm talking about, I don't know how more meteorologists in that area didn't see this coming a little bit more. Again, nobody could have forecasted it to be as bad as it is.
No.
Places like Chimney Rock and Winona are gone.
Yeah. And another thing is, let's find a way for everybody. I don't care what political party you are. Stop with that rhetoric. We need to all be together as one. I'm seeing a lot of stuff on Facebook that's totally outrageous, and I don't normally give that kind of commentary, but it really is sickening to see that kind of stuff when the main
Well,
focus
when
needs to
you
be on the
hear
people.
when you hear about they're going to give $750 to the victims of the hurricane in Western North Carolina, and illegals are getting $1,400 in certain states, people are a little angry about it.
They're getting a lot. They're getting a lot, and they're going to get a lot of donations. The key that I'm worried about is that we're all doing a great job, and thank you, Richard, for everybody. But what I want is for people a year, 2, 5 years down the road. It's going to take a long time to get this the group of folks in Western North Carolina. You have Virginia, you have West Virginia, Tennessee, Georgia, and Florida back on their feet.
Yeah, and it's primarily Western North Carolina and then East Tennessee, and we'll close it out talking about football. But I do want to comment on one more thing about the tragedy. That factory, and I believe it was Irwin, Tennessee, the plastics factory, that did not let their employees leave. First of all, um, you got to put a little bit of that on the employees themselves. You got to tell your boss to suck it. If my boss tells me I can't leave in the middle of a flood, I'm gonna tell him to go to hell. I'm gone, baby. I mean, it's so you got to put a little bit of that on your own self. But that factory out there not letting their employees leave, and it caused 2 of their factory workers to die. There should be major lawsuits, and
I'm sure it will be.
now what I can't even. I wish I knew the name of the plastics factory right now, so I could run them into the ground. But that's just sickening. Sickening. Greed is just beyond. It's beyond words to treat your employees just like they don't matter, like their safety doesn't matter, and makes me sick.
Yeah, no doubt.
As we start to bring it back toward our final thoughts on this game and predictions, Robert Dedrick said he said buy Biff ECU program so he has more info on our coordinators, particularly Blake Harrell, and what Robert's referencing for those who may not have heard that yet in Biff Poggi's weekly press conference. And he was very complimentary, of East Carolina and our program, and Mike Houston. He talked about last year, seeing the names on the stadium and wow, that guy played here, and a lot of recognizable names, be it Robert Jones or Andew Bayes or whomever. But he just one thing he did mess up badly is said that we had 2 new coordinators. Obviously, John David Baker's new, but Blake Harrell's in his 5th season now.
Since 2020.
He's been here since the 2020 season, so it was tough to see how Coach Poggi made that mistake.
Yeah, that wasn't. That was just lack of trying effort.
I think he just. My guess is he misspoke. I would hope.
Yeah.
I would hope.
Yeah.
Right.
Chuck is asking, did Andrew play a couple seasons in NFL?
Yeah, so I bounced around for 3 years. My first year with Detroit, my second year with Tampa, and my third year with San Francisco. And in between then, I had 2 stints where I was allocated by my NFL teams to NFL Europe. So NFL Europe was, that was during the spring. So in lieu of going to mini camps and spring ball at your training facilities, they would allocate you to NFL Europe as a developmental opportunity. So I spent a season NFL Europe in Frankfurt, and when I was with the Buccaneers, and I spent a season with the Amsterdam Admirals as part of NFL Europe when I was with the San Francisco 49ers. So
how was the weed in Amsterdam?
What's funny is true story. We have plenty of buddies. It's a tight knit league, so everyone on every team. And but when I played in Frankfurt, when you traveled to Amsterdam and came back to Frankfurt, you were drug tested that following Monday or whatever it was.
Yeah,
And,
weed was legal there before it was cool.
But what was crazy is the whole season I played in Amsterdam, nobody on that team got drug tested the entire season.
I bet. Well, how would that work? I guess it would be league policy. Even though it's legal in Amsterdam, it would still fall to league policy, correct?
Oh, it was league. Yeah, you're owned by the NFL team. It's an NFL league, and it is league policy. It was league policy. But
what happened?
I would think if you're drug tested in Amsterdam, particularly in that time where it's a rarity to see legal marijuana, you're probably going to have a lot of people pissed dirty.
Yeah, and that was what was funny is that whole season we were in Amsterdam, the teams that would come play us, they would get drug tested that Monday, and our team didn't get drug tested the entire season. But it was, going back to the playing days, that was fun. The NFL Europe was disbanded a long time ago, but that was I know a lot of guys that went through that league, and that was fun. The tough thing about it is the season would break early July or late June, whatever it was, and you literally had 2 weeks, to kick your feet up and breathe for a second before you would have to go back for NFL training camp. So the tough thing was guys, would be a little bit banged up going into training camp or dropping a lot of weight, just not being able to hold weight, that kind of thing. So physically it was pretty tough to go from a full NFL Europe season straight into the NFL training camp and season. So but yeah, it was a good time in my life for sure. It was a lot of fun.
Did you run into Logan or Rick Smith while you were in NFL Europe, or did the times collapse or not?
Yeah, no. So the whole NFL Europe training camp was in Tampa, and so when I was down there, Coach Logan was with Berlin Thunder, and we had inter squad scrimmages, and we're all pretty much running around the same circles. And Coach Logan and I met up a couple times for dinner while we were down there during that training camp.
Nice.
Andrew, as far as the league, why did it disband? Because I thought it was a good thing, and I like the fact that and they play now. They're playing 1 million games around the Europe and Latin America.
I can tell you without him answering, it didn't make money. I guarantee you, without even knowing that.
Yeah, and it was it was a big cost for the owners, and so the owners obviously split the cost of that. TV ratings weren't. That was always run through Fox. So Fox would air all or most of the games on national television, and the ratings weren't great just because it's not your NFL primetime players, and it's kind of the spring and the summer. It's kind of weird, but the fans in Europe absolutely loved it. So when I played for Frankfurt and we would play the Rhine Fire, we would be playing in front of 60,000 fans.
Wow.
And I played in Amsterdam. We played in, if people are familiar with soccer, Ajax was the soccer club, and we played in a retractable roof dome that held 50,000 fans. And more often than not, for home games, we were filling that place up. And
wow.
So, the fans absolutely loved American football at the time. And so it was a success from a fan point of view. It's just I don't think they could make the financials work.
Yep. Guys, we want to give our scores for the. I don't know, Andrew, if you're allowed to give a score.
Here
we got more comments from the fans.
Yeah, have a guy I call with high school from Pikeville that officiated NFL Europe, Justin Butts.
That's pretty sweet.
Yep, no doubt.
I
know there's a few more
from Pikeville. Wow, all the way from Pikeville to Europe.
Here you go, Kyle. Do you think this is a rivalry game, Richard Osbrook?
Piss off, Richard. Yes, I do. I do. I think you better embrace it for what it is. Embrace the hate. Charlotte thinks it's a. You know what? No, it ain't a rivalry game. You got to beat somebody before it's a rival. How about that? So once we go beat them, then it's a rivalry. That's how I'm going to use reverse psychology. Piss off everybody. No, it ain't a rival because we ain't beat them yet. So once we beat them, then it becomes a rivalry. So there you go. To me, you better match their intensity. To me, if you go in there with it ain't a rivalry game, you're walking into the same trap that NC State and UNC has walked into with more talent than us, coming to Greenville 100 times and getting their asses handed to them. There ain't never been one time ever we had more talent than North Carolina. Yet we've beat their ass the last 3 times we played them, even with Scotty friggin' Montgomery coaching them, because we knew it was a rivalry and they refused to embrace it. So, yeah, embrace the hate. Go in there, treat it like it's UNC, NC State, and beat their ass.
Hey, Justin says there's a guy that lives in LaGrange. Is that Kyle? That's a Sunbelt official?
No, I think my vision
my
vision would probably eliminate me from being an official. But are you serious? There's a guy from LaGrange who's a Sunbelt official. I did not know that. I'd like to know who that is. I'd like to have a conversation with him if you're being serious, Justin.
His favorite conference, the Sunbelt.
So is Holton's. Holton has made several public statements now that he would like for us to join the Sunbelt.
All right, what's the over/under?
Wasn't expecting that one, were you, Dave?
I mean, doesn't bother me either way. I want money. What's the over/under?
Bubba mentioned that earlier. I believe it's 44.
44.
Is that correct, Bubba?
47.5.
47.5. Okay.
There you go.
I'm thinking of my age on my birthday. I'll be 44.
All right, and then as far as predictions go, Will says 31-17 Pirates. So we do cover, according to Will.
I hope he's correct.
And if everybody else wants to put their scores while we give our scores, I'm going to go with Bubba first because I usually go with Kyle. So, what do you think score wise?
I think that's a pretty good call by Will Landon. That's actually Will the score that I texted Johnny Gardner earlier today. You said 31. I certainly hope that Holton, Ehlers, and Caden Norman, and I believe it was Dr. James Fletcher, that their predictions are right because they were saying 42-10, 49-10,
no way,
42-20, or something along those lines, 42-17. I would love to see it. Hopefully Justin Butts is right. Got another comment there, but 47-14 is what Justin Butts said. But I certainly am much more like, just based on what I've seen, James Cutler and Will Landon, because 31-17 is the score that I text Johnny Gardner earlier today.
I'm gonna go with the 17 also, but I'm gonna say 23-17. I'm gonna say it's a nail biter. Pirates struggle again in the red zone, but we nail 3 field goals again, and Pirates win at 23-17. Get out of there with the win. And a lot of people will complain. I'll be happy we won. We're 4-2. I think it's gonna be a hornet's nest. I think Charlotte is gonna be highly motivated. But I think our defense gets it done. Pirates win 23-17. And I'll be more than happy.
Hornet's nest. I like it.
Yeah, hornet's nest, exactly. I'll be more than happy to win that game by 31-17, 45-17, 24-0. But my official prediction is 23-17.
Will says Kyle is right. This is a must-win. Have to get it done Saturday for the trajectory of the season.
Andrew, are you allowed to give a predicted score?
I'm not gonna put a score, but I think the Pirates win going away on this one. I think there's a big spread between at least that's what I have in my head. That's what I'm thinking. Seems like the way I'm thinking is the way a lot of people are thinking. But the Pirates have to do it. They got to go out there and do it for in order for it to happen the way that the fans want it to happen. They've got to do it across all 4 quarters. They
I like
can't.
Richard's score. I was more conservative than that, but I do like that score from Richard.
Yeah, and I'll give mine. I'm going 34-10 Pirates.
Guys, I hope everybody else is right, but I got a feeling it's going to be a nail biter.
I mean, if it is, all I care about is winning.
Exactly.
If we win, then we're 4-2, like we talked about. We have the bye week, and Army's good, but having the bye week definitely helps us. Hey, if we win by 1 point, I mean, people can complain that we only won by 1 point, but that's to me, a win is a win. So that's the way I feel about it. And it's like Andrew, how do you
win
feel?
And get the hell out of there.
Yeah, survive in advance, and we come back home and have the 4th win of the season. Are you kidding me? We're that close to. We only won 2 games last year. We have a chance to double our win total on Saturday. I know it's not saying much, and Andrew, we've got all our goals in front of us, 2-0 in the conference, right? I mean, and then you have the week off to prepare for Army. Army's a good football team, and it's an away game, and it's the West Point. There's a lot of stuff there, but having that bye week, and you were talking about, I wanted to add one more thing, and I know we want to get out of here. We're running a little bit long tonight. But Andrew, we you talk about with the Pirates, with having them and having these players. I just you said that earlier. I just have a feeling if it's not this game, maybe it's the Army game. One of these games, they're going to break it. They're going to break out, and I love the scores of the folks, but and I'm glad you feel that way. I just Kyle, you said it. I got to give Kyle credit. He said back in the summer the please be patient with this offense. And, I know it's the halfway through the season after this game, but maybe this is the game that they finally put it all together.
Yeah. I mean, we've, we've seen it. Like I said earlier, we've seen it in snippets, of how exciting it can be. I mean, I go back to ODU, those first couple drives at ODU, I was loving what I was seeing, and I wanted more, and I know we've probably talked about, being on script and how things looked on script and versus how things look off script. But that's where you get into first year coach with first year, quarterback in that system, and trying to work through it, with moving parts of, a running back that's kind of been dinged up throughout the season. That was a big part of what you're trying to do. And, incorporating some of these other parts and pieces. And so at some point it's all going to catch up. And, as I've noted, I'm hopeful that it's this week. I just want to see it quarter after quarter after quarter after quarter and finishing strong in the 4th quarter. That needs to be the mission every week, for every Pirate team. And, I'm hopeful that we'll see it this week.
No, and we need to put up John White's comment for sure. He says, agree with Andrew, win going away. Big win, Pirates. And John's a winner, so he knows about that, being one of the great pitchers for Coach O back in the day for the Pirates.
Yeah, I hope everybody is correct.
All right, Robert says, I see 27-20.
He likes Charlotte to win at 27-20.
No, I think he's saying that he sees us win. It's 27-20. If you would clarify there, Robert.
Yeah, James hopes it's a big win. James Cutler, that is.
All right.
So appreciate you, Shell. And by the way, Shell says, see you later, boys. Andrew, much respect. Love the way you competed on the field.
I appreciate that. That's awesome.
And Robert's saying that the FAU will be the breakout game. I just want it to be a win. If it's not the breakout game, just Just win, baby. That's all we care about.
So do we clarify if Robert's picking Charlotte?
He says ECU 20. Yep, he just did.
Okay, there we go. All right.
Thanks, Bubba.
It's a little better there, Robert. You looked like you were picking Charlotte earlier. I was a little worried.
No, Robert's he's pretty gung-ho ECU. I haven't seen him be really negative. So let's see. All right, you ready to get out of here?
Yes, sir. Going to go watch some football. Watch the end of this Troy. Who the hell are they playing? Texas State game, and I believe we got Sam Houston State and UTEP over on CBS Sports Network. So I'm going to get off here and watch a little college football.
Okay, the Pirate Sports Radio Network. Andrew, you'll be on the call at 2:30. You guys are awesome. Love the call. I'll be there in the press box. Bubba's going to be on the sidelines, having fun, and I guess kicking some footballs, throwing some footballs. Bubba.
Hey, Dave. Yeah. Say if there's some cookies out there and you see them going, and we're still going live, make sure you save me some cookies.
All right, I'm a cookie dude too, so I'll look out for you.
All right, thanks.
I love oatmeal raisin. Is my
whatever you can get your hands on, man.
I got you.
Dave, I'm a huge fan of oatmeal raisin too. We agree on something else.
Yes. All right. Okay. And the Pirates are going to win. We agree on that too. So, all right, everybody. Thank you so much. It's a huge show as always. Andrew, thank you, man. I hope you have safe travels. And maybe next time we'll have you back on very soon, and we'll be talking about a win.
Sounds good, man. Thank you guys for having me as always. And go Pirates.
All right. See you later, man. Have a good one. Appreciate Andrew so much, guys. We'll get out of here. Thank you, Bubba. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you for all the comments and all the questions. We appreciate it. We'll have our guys. We'll have it Sunday night for the playback. And until next time, you've been watching the Pirate Preview right here on the Sports Objective. Good night, everybody. And as always, go Pirates.
You're watching the Sports Objective, the podcast for Pirates.